Have you ever found yourself staring at a gold chart, watching the price tick up and down and just wondering what is really going on behind the scenes? Well, you are in exactly the right place. Today, we're going to pull back the curtain on the hidden system that actually moves the global gold market. Let's dive in.
So here's the big mystery we're tackling today. We all hear the reports. Central banks are gobbling up gold by the truckload. But then you look at the charts, and those huge buys almost never create a massive, obvious price spike. It's like they're invisible. So, if their buying isn't what we're seeing, then what and who is actually making that price line move?
All right, to crack this case, we have to start with the gold market's biggest secret. And it all comes down to understanding the main players in the game, and more importantly, how they all interact, completely out of the public eye.
And you know what's funny is that this incredibly complex global system, it really just boils down to three major groups. That's it. Once you get what each one does and what they want, the whole picture just snaps into focus. Okay, so here are our three main characters. First, you've got the miners. Pretty simple, right? They're the ones pulling the actual physical gold out of the ground. Then, you've got the central banks. These are the big buyers who want to stack that gold in their vaults as a core reserve asset. And then, you have the bullion banks. These guys are the absolute linchpin of this whole system. Think of them as the ultimate middlemen, the connectors. They're the key to this entire story. So let's follow the actual gold bars for a second. Let's trace their journey. This is the part of the story that happens in the shadows, far, far away from any public trading screen.
All right, so picture this. A central bank decides, hey, we want to buy 100 tons of gold. They don't just log on to some trading platform and click buy. No way. They get on the phone with a bullion bank and they work out a completely private, off-market deal. And here's the really wild part. A lot of the time, the gold bars don't even move. The ownership title just gets transferred from the bullion bank's name to the central bank's name, all inside the same secure vault.
And that is exactly why these massive purchases are totally invisible to the rest of us. It's what's called an over-the-counter or OTC transaction. It's a direct private handshake between two parties. There's no public order, no trade on a futures exchange, nothing. This is the deep, physical settlement layer of the market, and it's a completely different world from the price you see on your screen.
So the deal is done, the central bank is happy. But this creates a brand new and very big problem. The bullion bank just sold a mountain of physical gold, and now they are facing a huge dilemma that they need to solve, like right now.
Okay, this is so important. The bullion bank just sold a massive chunk of its gold inventory. Now they've got to go out and replace it. But what happens if the price of gold shoots up before they can buy it all back? They would lose an absolute fortune. They are suddenly exposed to a giant price risk. And let me tell you, these banks are not in the business of gambling.
Let's just put some simple numbers on this to make it real. Say they sold all that gold at $2,000 an ounce. If the price jumps to $2,200, boom, they're losing $200 for every single ounce they need to replace. Now sure, if the price fell to $1,800, they'd make a nice profit, but they can't take that risk. Their whole business model is about earning a small, predictable fee for their service, not betting on which way the market's going to go.
So how in the world do they solve this giant problem? Well, they use a brilliant financial tool, but probably not for the reason you think. They turn to the futures market.
Now, this might be the single most important concept to get. I want you to forget everything you might have heard about futures being for speculators and gamblers. For these big players, a futures contract is something much simpler and much more powerful. It's price insurance. It's just a tool that lets them lock in today's price to protect themselves from whatever the price might do tomorrow. Its real job is to transfer risk.
And this is just beautiful. Look at how perfectly this works. The moment they sell the physical gold, the bank immediately goes and buys gold futures contracts. So now, watch what happens. If the price goes up, yeah, they lose money when they have to replace the physical gold, but they make an equal amount of profit on their futures position. And if the price falls, they make a gain on the physical side, but lose the same amount on their futures. The two moves cancel each other out perfectly. The net result is zero. The risk is just gone. It's been completely neutralized.
So let's be absolutely crystal clear about this. The bullion banks are not using futures to try and get more gold. They are using futures to survive the very risky business of holding and moving physical gold around the world. It's their financial shield against the chaos of the market.
Okay, we've got all the pieces of the puzzle now. The secret physical deal is done. The bullion bank has protected itself with its price insurance. So now we can finally answer our original question. What is it that we are actually seeing on the price chart?
And here it is, the big reveal. The price action, the candlesticks, the wiggles on the chart that we all obsess over. That is not the central bank's quiet secret purchase. It is the bullion bank's very loud, very public act of buying futures contracts on an open exchange to hedge their risk. You see? The quiet physical deal creates the need for a loud financial hedge.
This is the key takeaway. I mean, if you remember one thing from this, let it be this. Charts don't show who bought the physical gold. They show who hedged the physical gold. That idea changes everything.
So here it is. This is your new mental model for how the gold market really works. Step 1. Central banks buy tons of physical gold, quietly, over the counter. Step 2. This creates a huge price risk for the middleman, the bullion bank. Step 3. The bullion bank immediately hedges that risk, loudly, using the public futures market. And Step 4. The charts we all watch reflect that loud hedging, not the quiet original purchase.
And so that brings us to the final, and I think most important question. Now that you know you're not always watching raw physical demand, but often you're just seeing the footprint of risk management, how does that change the way you look at the price of gold? How does it change the way you interpret the next big move? It's something to think about.